Hey everyone, Professor Snar here, just checking in. I'm going to go back to my old method of recording with my webcam instead of in YouTube so I don't have to record the same thing 3 times over. Uh, if you think it's like playing the first time, try doing it 3 times over. Anyway, looking at our due dates then, we've just passed the due date for Unit 3, which was our first writing assignment, although, just a paragraph, really an opportunity to apply in a really limited kind of focused way some of the basic concepts that we've started to look at for the class. So we're on to Unit 4, which is due Thursday, January 27th. Again, these units come, especially at the start of the course, they come really quickly given our 8-week format here. And we continue then with developing some of the ideas that we've started talking about as far as kind of the composition aspect. Or the composition concepts that we've been looking at. I've provided a couple of common Unit 3 errors that seem to pop up. A lot of them really minor, but easy to fix, so it's good to have these things correct and in place. One of those things that can often be the difference between the B paper, which is competent and sort of has an overall unity to it, but is making these sorts of basic mistakes throughout, not just once, of course, but kind of from start to finish. Fixing these kinds of things, the small sorts of things, really does sometimes make the difference between that B paper and the A paper. So you can take a look at those and maybe you'll find some that you have made or a couple that you've made in your paragraph. You'll also notice then, and this is what will happen with writing assignments that we submit like this, like the essays, I get the file and then I open it up and I do everything electronically. So I will highlight certain things, or you want to read carefully in your document for square bracketed material where maybe I've asked a question or provided feedback or maybe a little correction if something wasn't quite right or stuff like that. So be sure you read that carefully. Don't just look at the grade and then move on. One of the most important things that you're doing is learning from, especially in these kinds of very focused writing assignments that aren't worth nearly as many points as those longer ones. You're really learning from those mistakes, because losing the points is not that big a deal. I mean, we're talking about maybe 1 or 2 or 5 or even 10 in 1,000, literally. But you don't then want to make those mistakes where it really counts in the papers, where all of a sudden you're losing substantially more points because all of these errors are compounding and you're making just simple stuff. And I do kind of recognize in your writing, if I've made a correction in previous assignments and it's something that you're still making the mistake, it really does make me wonder if you're paying attention to the feedback that you're getting, which is of course an important part of the class. So be sure you read that essay or the file that I send back to you to look for questions, little corrections, highlighted passages or anything like that. Obviously follow up if you have particular questions based on some of the feedback that I've given to you. Okay, so we move into Unit 4 then, a sample student essay analysis, which I've provided as a PDF. It's not perfect, but it's readable. And it functions really nicely as a good example of the kind of essay that we're writing. It's focused. It is unified, again, as far as the entirety of the essay. The paragraphs work quite nicely. It stays on topic, this whole notion of the public versus the private in this particular story, Rose for Emily. And the reason I provided the PDF is because our old edition, or the old edition of the textbook, had this essay in it, and they've removed it and unfortunately replaced it with something that's not really comparable. So I've contacted the publisher about this. But anyway, for now, it's just the PDF that you can use. A little bit on thesis statements, which of course are very important, and it's lots of, again, just information or conceptual stuff that I'll be looking for the application of in the essays that you're writing. A little quiz and then a quick discussion board based on Flight Patterns, the short story that we've read by Sherman Alexie. All right, so again, a mix of kind of the composition or conceptual stuff, attending to the readings, and again, that sample essay can be really good for seeing some of the concepts and how they actually look in practice. All right, so stay on track, and of course, as usual, any questions, just be in touch with me.